And I am looking for weathering, erosion, and deposition. So weathering is the process in which a bigger rock is broken down into smaller pieces of rock, maybe by weathering and basically just natural forces of weather like wind, rain, maybe even gravity can break down these rocks. So right here I have example of weathering because I can see that there's 3 pieces of rock, and if you look here, this seems like the inside because it's whiter than the rest, and they're the same color, and also this one too. This one's a little darker, maybe because it was face down for a long time, but if you flip these over to the dirtier side, they seem to be quite similar in color. So I think that these are maybe used to be one whole rock, and I think that weathering broke those rocks down. You can see here is uphill. Maybe it just brought these rocks down and broke them down. Maybe gravity, maybe rain just brought them down, let them roll over here, and it just broke down into 3 pieces. So I think that is why these rocks are broken down, but this is a good example of weathering because it shows that these rocks have been weathered and broken down into 3 pieces, and I think that the attributes of them are so like that they are definitely one whole rock. You can use this, you can see that there's these small things, and you can also see here it's the same. So I think that this is a good example. Now let's head to Unami Park to find erosion and deposition. Now here is a stream, and over here on the other side continues. I think it actually starts from here because there's more water here. But I think that this is a good example of erosion. You can see that there's smaller rocks over here and there's bigger rocks over here. And so I can infer that these smaller rocks come from these bigger rocks. Maybe the gravity has pulled it down, maybe rain has pushed it down, but these are smaller, and I think that it definitely did come from here because as you can see over here there's not many rocks, and to the side there's not many rocks either. So then that might mean that since there's rocks here, that is why that there are rocks here, and I guess it just kind of stays here because it was just brought down. And you can see that the stream is only this part, and then here are just these bigger rocks, and the bigger rocks probably were broken down into the pieces like this. So erosion is basically when the rocks are basically brought to different places, transported by wind, rain, snow, all those kinds of natural forces. And I'm going to look for deposition. Deposition is basically when these smaller particles and pieces of rock are kind of added onto a landscape or landform. So I think that here is a good place because you can see that here it's not as grassy as the other places, and probably a lot of people walk through here. So I think I've found one. So right here you can see that there's a lot of rocks on this place, and you can see that some rocks have been added onto a landform, some are very deep inside. So I think that maybe when it rained, the water became softer or muddier so that the rocks could kind of sink down, and then when the mud and the dirt kind of dried, the rock was there, and then once it rains again, maybe it'll become softer and then the rocks will sink down more. So yeah, that's what I think about deposition. And I think that this is a good example. You can see that when you lift this rock up, you can see that there's this print that it has left here too. So I think that basically this means that the rain kind of caused this deposition, this rock to sink down into the mud and become kind of the landscape. And also because maybe people ride on it and it just like presses down and adds more pressure and gravity, and maybe just gravity brings it down. So that's what I think about these rocks and this dirt and deposition.